And I'm Lenny Kluge.
We're two immigrants living in Chile, bringing you information on news, cultural topics, travel, business, and more.
The Chile Today podcast is the first ever bi-weekly English news podcast.
For more information about the news topics you will hear today, check out our news affiliate, chiletoday.cl.
If you have any questions, stories to share, or just want to say hi, message us on Instagram at Chile Today Podcast or email us at chiletodaypodcast@gmail.com.
If you're feeling generous, rate and review us so that more people can find our podcast. Okay, so Lenny, tell the folks at home why we sound different today.
Well, it's because we are very responsible people, and since Omicron is taking over the country bit by bit, hail to our new leader, by the way, all hail to Omicron, we're staying home as responsible people, and also because Diego wasn't really sure whether he got the bug or not.
Yeah, he was exposed. Diego, who's that? You mean Pinguino, our producer?
I mean, yeah, Diego's his last name. Podcast Pinguino Diego.
Pinguino Diego. He was exposed, so we're just trying to be safe, trying not to spread it. So yeah, that's what we're doing. I'm actually in Viña, you're in Santiago, so it kind of worked out anyway.
Yeah, I'm in Ñuñoa, the hipster capital of the world.
It really is. It's becoming the very hipster place to be. A lot of young people living there.
I've already suggested that, like, we Ñuñoinos, we should just like take Barrio Italia by force, because like by all rights it belongs to us. We should just invade that.
Wait, why by all rights it belongs to you?
Because it's just as hipster as Ñuñoa. Like,
oh, I thought that was like the old hipster. Apparently, like Pionono was like hipsterish like 10, 15 years ago where the universities are. Now Ñuñoa is really hipster. And like before, wasn't it like somewhere in Providencia? Like
Suecia, you mean? But that wasn't hipsterish. That was just like, no, but that was just like the nightclubs and everything. It's just like you wanna.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. And then, well, did hipsters exist 25 years ago?
No. They were just called
maybe
hippies.
Now it's hipster because it's been gentrified so much, that area.
Yeah.
And now it's all old people.
Yeah, 25 years ago they just didn't have any money and they were just called hippies. Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh god, we're gonna get so much hate mail for that.
We love you hippies, we love hipsters. We're both probably falling in that one of those categories ourselves. So we love everyone.
That's right. We're on the clock.
Right, so this is part 2 of our Boric discussion, but we're bringing you, though we recorded that discussion a couple weeks ago, we're bringing you updated news, and we're starting with coronavirus news. So corona news, virus news. The first thing is, obviously, by the time you hear this, it should be coming out in like a day or two. By the time you hear this, will probably be different. No, my God, Lenny.
Oh, no, you're not.
No,
okay.
You are fine.
I misread the room.
Fine.
I'm sorry.
If you've been vaccinated, hopefully you already have your 3rd dose, because it is available to you. If you have any sort of residency in Chile, it is available to you right now. Go get it, because we're already rolling out the 4th dose. Bing, 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 bing. This past week, we started our 4th dose, not for our age group. It's for like immunocompromised people and like really the at-risk population. But I would not be surprised if in a couple of months, we're all going to be eligible for our 1st dose. Of course, that's going to be according to when you got your 3rd dose and all of those situations related to that. And as you know, Lenny and Pinguino, who's listening attentively, we had over 8,000 cases.
What, today? Oh, it's
today.
Like I didn't find the update for today. Like I always take BOB, they didn't have it, but damn girl, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's not all that news, because remember, in order for us to change phases, that means our hospitals have to be full, right? It's also according to ICU beds, and the positivity rate right now, as of yesterday. Now, I'm not sure as of today, but as of yesterday, which yesterday was Thursday, the 13th, the positivity rate was only 7%. So that means a lot more people are getting tests done, but less people are showing positive results. That's probably because we have so many high numbers of coronavirus and everybody's still going out, right? It's the same thing that happened to Pinguino this weekend. Like he went to see some people, he got exposed, had to take a test, ended up negative, right? So that happened to several of my students this week. So I think that's
What do you mean
there's a lot
only
of people showing up.
7%?
No, I mean, like, I don't know. Is that the high?
That is pretty high. Yeah. If you compare to the last, because like the last month we were at around like 2 point something, 3. And then it just jumped within 1 week to just more than double.
Okay, well, maybe then I don't know what I'm talking about, but it just doesn't seem that high according to the amount of tests that have been done, because the amount of tests that have been done recently has super high. So maybe I'm just being weird, but I don't know. I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic. Everyone I know that I have several friends that have it right now and they've had their vaccines and it seems super leve, like super light. So I know it's spreading, but I feel like we can get through this, guys. We're all in this together.
I mean, let me just put a little damper on your optimism right now. If you
Jesus,
like
no.
right now, the daily infections are like the highest that they've been since mid 2021. And basically, since we're talking about the number of cases, there has been an increase of more than 100% compared to last week. So right now, experts expect more than 50,000 daily cases in the coming week. And
Jesus, Mary, and fucking Joseph, 50,000?
15, but I don't.
Jesus, Mary, I thought you said 50.
I think 50,000 is still at least 2 weeks out.
Oh my God.
Man, I wish I was joking. Like this is not, this thing is spreading really rapidly. Even though I heard like Denmark apparently is over the hill. So I don't know about that. Now there are divided opinions about this. Like, so I read like this woman called Claudia Saavedra. She's the spokesperson of the Society of Microbiology. She fears that the ICUs might collapse before long. Whereas on the other hand, Mr. Dr. Edison Krause, he's less concerned because, as he says, 95%, which I double checked, I think it's 92.3%, but okay, tomato, of the population has been completed the vaccination scheme. And I think 80% of those already got the booster shot, the first booster shot, mind you. So
our third dose.
However, he also like suggests to make vaccination mandatory because there's still some holdouts. But what he's saying is that, okay, it could be that the virus is spreading rapidly through the population, but since everybody is so they're like vaccinated to the gills, that basically in most of the cases, it's not going to be more than just a case of the sniffles. And the few unlucky ones who are not unvaccinated, who are not only unlucky, but also kind of stupid, if you ask me, but okay, that's a different thing. Right. They might end up in the ICU, but according to him, it probably is not enough to just like collapse the whole system.
Right. I mean, that's what I've heard. I've heard that like, because Chile has such a high vaccination rate, like the US right now is a garbage fire, like it's just a garbage fire. And because so many people are unvaccinated, so many people not only are unvaccinated, but don't have their third dose. I mean, I can say from personal experience, my brother, love him to death, but he's dragging his feet on his third dose because I don't know if there was the rollout campaign or what it was that made everything slow. If you're from the US, feel free to message us, tell us your perspective, chilettoday@gmail.com or on our Instagram @Chile Today Podcast. That's the thing. With Chile, because the majority of the countries in phase 3, phase 4, a lot of people are getting exposed because we're still going out. But isn't this the whole point of how we're growing as a society? Like this thing isn't going to go away. The best case scenario is just to live with it. Like you're gonna get it, live with it. Like, I mean, I still think we need to be responsible. Like stay home if you can, but if the government's being like, it's phase 4, go to bars, then I don't see the problem with doing that. And then when they say, no, it's phase 2, stop, I'll stop.
Yeah, well, you're putting a lot of trust in the government there, but which is okay. But I think it's like you're going down a dangerous path here because the thing is that the idea is always to live with the virus, but we need to be in a position where living with the virus doesn't imply that we are going to eventually collapse the health system. No,
100%. That's why you're right. I probably shouldn't put so much trust in the system, but so far in Chile, the system has been pretty good. I mean, it's been more strict than not strict. And so because it's been so strict, I'm like, okay, if they would put us back in phase 3 or phase 2 if they thought this was necessary, if because they have those very strict standards, right? Once the ICU beds start going away, they're going to put us back in phase 3 and phase 2 immediately because of those standards.
Right. At least we're not going to go back to phase 1, because actually Pineda made a comment about this just a few days ago. He was being interviewed, and he said that he absolutely discarded a return to the general quarantines, phase 1, during an interview with Mega. And he basically said the worst is behind us, quote unquote. For me, it was kind of like, okay, Pineda's a lame duck president. Yeah, Pineda's a lame duck president. He doesn't really have a lot of sway, so he can say whatever. But on the other hand, I think it was also a bit like, it was kind of like signaling from his part to calm the economy a little bit, because I think when people and small, medium business, all kinds of businesses really like saw the numbers jump like within a matter of days from like 1,000 to like 5,000, 7,000 cases.
Yeah, like 4
people
days.
were getting a little bit nervous, like not only because of health reasons, but also like, holy shit, like they're going to shut down my business again. What am I going to do? So I think that was also one of the intentions of Pineda, just to be like, calm down, people. We're not going to go back to general quarantines. May this be true or not, we don't know yet, but I think it had like a calming effect, or that was the idea at least.
Yeah, Bolsonaro said the exact same thing this week. He was like, the worst is behind us, everything's going to be great. And I think you're totally on the mark there when you say that it's more, because we don't know, because we could have a variant that's just as dangerous as Delta and just as contagious as Omicron. We don't know.
Right, unless everybody gets the fucking vaccination.
Yeah, guys, be responsible. Take one for the team. Like, what if it's a microchip? I don't even give a shit at this point. Take your chips, eat them. They're lovely. They're like
it's like Lay's. Exactly.
Just take them. Take one for the team. You're already drinking 5 cups of coffee a day. Just get your vaccine. Come on, people. No, but actually, I wanted to make it as just an anecdotal comment. I think I mentioned it in the last episode, but be really careful with these rapid tests, you guys. Read the fine print of which rapid test you're taking, because a lot of them have false positives. What I've been telling a lot of my friends is, if you get a positive on a rapid test, go ahead and take the PCR. But for example, my boyfriend and I took a rapid test today, where we literally we brought this rapid test home, and it had it was not a saliva one, it was a blood test. And we had to prick our fingers and do like drops of blood. I was like, oh my gosh, this is serious.
Oh my God, this is great.
Yeah, and drops of blood in this thing, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to prick my finger. No, I don't want to do. Like, I'm used to doctors doing it, but doing it to myself, I was not excited
it's kind of weird.
about. No, I know people with like diabetes have to do it all the time, and I was having some trouble. Anyway, so we did this, and then it said that me and my boyfriend were positive, and we were like, no, that's impossible. We were just doing it like just in case, because we're going to see people this weekend, and we're like, it's impossible. We haven't seen anybody. Like, what's going on? And then we started reading the fine print, and it was like, oh, it says if you have any antibodies towards COVID. And so then we looked it up, and we talked to people, and they're like, oh no, if you have your vaccine, it's
exactly. Like,
wait, what? What's the point of this fucking thing? So you guys be really careful. If your rapid test says positive, go get the PCR just in case, if you're really concerned, if you've really been exposed, because that's really the only way you're gonna. Which concerns me, because like the US is rolling out like 1 billion rapid tests, and I'm like, but you guys, I don't know.
But then better a false positive than a false negative, really.
Girl, you're right.
In terms of security reasons.
You're right. Like if it's especially if you're unvaccinated, hey, if it's a false positive, just stay home.
Yeah, just don't move.
Just get the That's what I understand about the US. Just get the PCR, you guys. Make it the PCR affordable, because right now in the US it's like $200 in most places. Crazy sauce. Anyway, let's see.
So
what else I have about COVID. Well, Chile is, like I said, we are having the 4th dose. We are the first Latin American country to have our 4th booster shot. And so Pineda said, with this 4th dose, that's what he said, we seek to maintain this leadership position in Latin America, protect the health and lives of our compatriots. The 4th dose will be from Pfizer, Sinovac, and AstraZeneca. And they're going to combine different different vaccines. For example, if you had one vaccine, you're going to get another. I don't know what our fourth booster or our booster will be. I know that when you had Sinovac, you got Pfizer. I don't know if you're going to get another Pfizer, if you're going to get AstraZeneca.
They're currently also negotiating with Moderna. And they want to bring a shipment of okay. I guess Penguin wanted to say the same thing.
Yeah. So, but that's what we have so
that
far.
That might not
AstraZeneca.
happen until March.
Sure. I'm going to visit the US, if it's still there, in March. Hopefully it will.
The wastelands.
Okay, hopefully it'll still be there, one. And two, I would like to have my fourth dose before I go on my mobility pass, right? Like I could get a dose there, but I'd rather it be showing up on my Chilean mobility pass. So speaking of, you have some info on mobility passes, right? Or crackdowns? Or attempted crackdowns? No, you don't?
Yeah, I do. Well, right now, the government announced the launch of a campaign called Pasa con tu pase, which we pass with your pass. I guess that's the best translation that I could come up with.
No, yeah, like.
Yeah, come in with your pass, or go forth with your pass.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
shall not pass. You shall pass. That would be a great name for that. But okay, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So basically, the campaign aims to strengthen and incentivize the control of the pase de movilidad at restaurants, bars, and long distance buses. However, from what I read, and I haven't found a lot on this, when I first read this, I thought they were going to be like, we're going to send out like people to control this whole thing, like they do when you come back from a trip and you have to stay home. They send by these fiscalizadores like every day to check on you. I thought they were going to like up the manpower. As far as I understood, they're not going to do that. I think it's more like more of a, I don't want to say publicity stunt, more of a like PR campaign
situation.
It's more like they're gonna, I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody's listening to this, but I got the impression that this is more of a publicity launch, that they will just release material video. There are like these little badges that restaurants and bars can basically just put on their walls, like, I'm participating, and I'm checking this stuff as I'm supposed to check it. And I guess it's more like a honor and shame system more than anything else. I don't know.
Well, hey, I mean, Chileans really do respond to those kinds of things.
Yeah, but honor and
I don't know about restaurants, but I know the population in general.
Yeah,
if they get out stickers, if everybody, I mean, obviously we don't want to do this, right? We don't want to like put badges on people. That's got some really bad
connotations. Not like we're China.
But if there were stickers that were like, I've been vaccinated, more people would get vaccinated in Chile.
Hell yeah, that would solve the problem.
Chileans do not like to not be included. They don't like to be shamed. So so that could work.
So yeah, it's more of a, I get the impression it's more of a feel-good campaign, but let's see. It's better than nothing. So
yeah, and we're gonna also see how things are gonna change, because we're about to have a new administration. So like, who knows what might change with our mobility passes, our paso a paso, or
that's true. And also with the spread of Omicron right now, that things might change too, right? Actually, authorities I think just today or yesterday, they were starting to ask people to no longer use their cloth masks, but start using like surgical masks. And actually today I went to the pharmacy, bought a 50-pack of surgical masks. I was like, I don't like them because you can really smell your own breath in there, which really makes you aware of.
Mine was just because I don't like throwing away, because I'm a very responsible mask person. I try to be environmentally conscious, but I always like, you only use your mask and then you wash it. And so I have several reusable masks and I wash them. I only use them once a day, but like paper masks, so you have to like replace them at least once a day, right? Or like you use it, but it's also summer, and so I'm probably using 2 a day, because I don't want to like use a wet, damp, sweaty mask. Like, and that, no, come on.
It depends from me how often I go out. It's just like, if I'm like, for example, tomorrow I'm going to be at the feria. I'm going to be there all day. I'm actually going to use what's it called? The KN95 mask. Yeah, because I
Yeah, but
mean,
you're going to be around a lot of people
that's
tomorrow.
the thing. That's the thing. But then again, if I go out just for doing my rounds, my sales calls, I think a surgical mask might do fine. And if I just stay home all day and just have to go down twice to the consiglio to pick up whatever, like eggs, I think a cloth mask would just do fine. I mean, it's criteria, So
right.
yeah.
The thing is you're using a mask. They don't even have, again, dumpster fire that the US is right now without mask mandate.
It's like, oh,
the only
wait,
reason I'm mentioning it is because I'm from the US, and so I have a lot of friends that are there that are just really frustrated, really scared. And again, it's a whole thing. Yeah. So it very much feels like 2020 all over again, in the fact that there's so much unknown. And at least in the US, there's not a lot of procedures in place. Into the unknown, as they would say in Frozen 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exciting. Well, actually, one thing I also wanted to mention, which I read today, which I thought was an interesting point, is like, since we're like in holiday season, not only the same clusterfuck that we had last year when everybody and their mother was coming back from the beach and spread the virus all over the place, that's gonna happen too. Like, I'm not worried about that. Yeah. The thing is also that right now we have a lot of tourists coming from outside the country, which is exactly what happened to Pinguino on the weekend, because I have it on good authority that the guy who was the porter of the virus was not a Chilean resident. However, he was allowed to enter the country because he had his vaccination scheme completed, but they didn't get a booster shot yet.
But wait, how did he not get his PCR coming into Chile?
He got his PCR, but since he didn't have like a booster shot already, there's a good chance that he got it
in Chile.
Could be, right? Because he doesn't have the same immune response as us, the booster people. And that's going to be an issue right now, because among all those Chileans are going to be at the beach mingling among themselves. They're going to be, nothing against Argentinians, but Argentinians are going to be there who don't have the booster shot yet, and who are a lot more susceptible to the virus. They're going to be spreading the virus. So like, that's also going to be an issue for a lot of like these seaside resorts who says like, we got to provide booster shots for those people because they have a right to get that. So
now
that's going to be
I went
interesting.
To the grocery store today. I went to the grocery store in Venia today, and it was so packed.
And they were like, "Che, pásamela."
No, I mean, which is fun. But yeah, I mean, I'm at the beach right now, and it's mostly not Chileans, which is fine. I don't care. Like, I'm not trying to be like that, the Cuica beach person that's like, don't come. Hey, the beach open for everybody. Enjoy. It's a beach, right? It's a public place. I just want everyone to have their booster shots, to be safe, and to stay the F away from me in the appropriate social distancing. That's what I want. And you're in the way of my watermelon. Please move. So.
The financing proposal for the universal guaranteed pension was approved by the lower house. Hip hip hooray. So that happened on Monday, January 10th. The week before that, on Monday, January 3rd, the project as such as in the universal guaranteed pension, was unanimously voted in. So the problem was that there was still some questioning about the financing, because funnily enough, the opposition, which is the right now also Boric, the left-wing parties, they were just like, they were kind of like,
finance it?
They were harping on the right-wing parties. How are you going to finance that? Which kind of had me giggling a little bit, because that's usually the rhetoric that the right-wing parties always use on the left-wing parties. So yeah. So what they did right now, they reworked the proposal to finance this whole thing, and the proposal eliminates or reduces tax breaks, as well as includes a tax for the super rich. Now, the super rich in this context being Chilean nationals or residents with assets worth $5 million or more, which, okay, if personal opinion, to me, that's not really super rich. That's rich, all right. That's not super rich. And also,
are you saying that people who have assets over 5 million shouldn't be taxed, Leonard?
No, I'm not. You capitalist. I'm not saying they shouldn't be taxed. It's just a weird definition of what super rich means. Like, they're definitely rich. Yes, it's not super rich.
I mean, I also feel like that's super rich in Chile. Like, if we're going to talk Bezos, it's not super rich. But if we're going to talk like the top 10% to top 1% in Chile, that is super rich. It's the top. It's the top like point. I don't know.
No, but if you're talking about
0.5
but to people like Luxic, to Piñera, like 5 million is nothing.
Yeah, but those are outliers, right? Like those are outliers.
Yeah. But another issue I have, and it's like not I have really read through the bill, I can admit. But the thing is, like, okay, if you have assets worth $5 million, okay, what if these assets are basically leveraged? What is it if they're indebted? Like the thing is, like, I could be, okay, I'm going to start a business. I need to build a factory. I'm going to take up a loan. This factory is worth like 5 million. Is this being considered? Because if I basically have a mortgage on what I own that is worth more than 5 million, I don't want to be taxed for that, because that might really, screw me over. But again, I would need to have a little bit more deeds. It's just, food for thought. I just thought the definition of super rich in this context was a little weird, because 5 million didn't seem all that much to me in terms of property value. Okay, now the financing proposal for the universal guarantee pension seeks to raise funds up to 0.35% of the GDP. And this whole thing was a unanimous decision, basically 130 in favor and none against, which is interesting because actually, if like they're not, Boric's party was like very much against this whole thing to begin with, but I guess that's why they got the thing rolling with the financing proposal. Now, right. Boric himself, he wasn't present for the voting because he got other shit to do right now, as you can imagine. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was a unanimous decision. Which doesn't mean that everybody agreed, but they were just like, okay, fine, we got to get this thing done,
Right. But again, even the opposition would agree that universal pension is going to be better than what we have now, which is nothing guaranteed. Yeah,
which I think
which
the left side sees it. Yeah, the left side sees it like as this is like what we stand for, and then the right side is just like, we're gonna just try to book this as a win for the current government.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a springboard for the left to build upon, right? Yeah.
Could be. Now so basically what it's trying to do is that it will pay out an additional 185,000 pesos per month to people 65 and older that belong to the 90% most vulnerable part of the population.
Hey, how much?
Everybody. 185,000, but it's not, that's like additional to what they receive from whatever AFP there is or whatever other benefits there are. So yeah, so the project itself requires a total of 0.95% of the GDP in funding. So basically they just went from 0.60 to 95 with these 0.35% that they just got out of this whole financing plan. Now, the thing is that the finance minister, Rodrigo Cerda, he made a constitutional objection because about this whole thing taxing the super rich, because as it is right now in Chile, tax issues are the prerogative of the president. So the whole thing that this whole proposal, at least this part, might actually go to the Tribunal Constitucional, the constitutional court.
The constitutional body, right.
Which is leaning right wing, so there might be still a chance that the part about the taxing the super rich might be shut down, because
the body in general,
Piñera don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, the existence of the body, the fact that whole sector exists is right wing. Like the whole point of that is to make sure you can't go against the Pinochet constitution, which is something that they want to completely abolish, right? They want to abolish that sort of like inability to change and pass laws that people are wanting to change, right? If your people and your governmental body want to do something, they should be able to do it without being like, oh, so.
Right. That's a different can of worms. So
that's a different can of Spanish worms.
Spanish worms. Well, another thing that is also goes under the category of projects that Piñera wants to push through before he leaves office is that the law has also approved the project to create an unemployment insurance for independent workers, which is also a good thing. Like, can't say nothing. That thing was approved with 122 votes in favor and 3 abstentions. And it will be forwarded to La Moneda for evaluation and possible implementation, which had me like, hold on, doesn't have to go through the Senate, but I'm not really sure how these bills work, to be honest. So it is. It goes to the La Moneda. But since it's Piñera's project to begin with, I don't think that there's going to be an issue with that. At its core, this whole thing seeks to modify the law 19,728. Yeah, I absolutely said that from the top of my head right now.
That one. My second favorite law.
Oh, really? What's your favorite? So basically, that law is regarding the unemployment insurance, and it will also allow independent workers to access their savings, which I think they meant either AFB or
APV is, I think, more likely. In case of necessity, which I understood as like you don't have to present proof that you're unemployed, because if you're an independent worker, there is no such thing of being like formally unemployed. Like you either have work or you don't have work.
Right.
Because
exactly.
if you're not under contract, it's really hard to prove. So basically, I think they can make a case now saying it's like, hey, APV, I need my money. Why? Well, because I fucking say so. Or maybe they have to. Maybe they have
because
to
I need money
proof.
help.
Yeah, maybe they have to present some proof that they haven't had any income, but it's not like they have to present a formal like carta de despido or whatever the what you call it, like a firing letter or whatever, that they're out of a job.
Yeah. The pink slip, as we say.
The pink slip, that is. Yeah, so they wouldn't have to do that.
Yeah, you don't have to, your finiquito, right? You don't have to like show your end of your proof, your pink slip. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, gotcha.
To show that you need that assistance.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
To complete the trifecta of
things Piñera's trying to do.
Exactly. That's a nice title. So right now we have going on. No, not going on. Actually, we just had a tender for lithium mining rights. Okay, we talked about this before hitting the record button. We're not going to get into this right now because that seems to be developing into a much bigger issue right now, and might actually merit an episode in and of itself. So right now we can say two mining rights have been auctioned off to two big companies, one Chilean, one Chinese. People on the one side say that's a good thing because we're going to get $120 million plus royalty rights in the future. The other side said, like, you absolutely sold this thing under value, and now things are going to court and people are spitting in each other's faces and punching each other in the faces. And
there's a lot of developments happening and things are changing basically daily with this. So we're going to wait a little bit to see how this shakes out. And then we're going to do a whole episode about lithium in Chile because it is a really big deal. So
lithium is
we're
the
going to
next
do a whole
copper.
Episode. Lithium is the
new
next copper. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Okay. So anything else or Pinguino?
Yeah.
Or the new saltpeter.
Ah,
oh boy. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. It was us the Germans who fucked that up for you guys.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah.
Like everything.
Yeah, that's what we do best.
Human rights too.
That's what we do best. Hey, hey, you guys are not far behind. It's okay.
Oh, that's true.
Don't feel bad for yourself.
Okay, so
we got a solid scandal. Oh, yeah, okay. You want to go ahead?
No, you go.
Okay, because I was just gonna say we have a solid scandal on our hands right now. Because what happened is that the president of the National Truck Owner Confederation, Juan Araya, said that Piñera has asked him, allegedly in 2020, to go on strike in order to pressure the passing of bills such as the Juan Barrios Law and the Firearms Law. Now, the Juan Barrios Law is named after Juan Barrios, who was a trucker who died in an arson attack, and the law aims to increase penalties for such attacks. And the Firearms Law is pretty much what it sounds like, aims to regulate access and usage of firearms, which apparently was signed into law just yesterday, as I read.
Yes, yes, it was.
Araya told Boric that they didn't partake, meaning they, the National Truck Owner Confederation, they didn't partake in the 2020 action. However, the National Land Cargo Transport Confederation, which apparently is another trucker confederation,
union, right,
under the leadership of Sergio Perez, they did. So Araya asked Boric not to get nervous. It's just such a mafia thing to say. He said, don't get nervous, man. Oh, we can work this out. Because ever since Araya has taken office, there's always been like a dialogue with the government. Now, of course, the Piñera administration denies allegations of any of this. I wouldn't expect anything else. But, the thing that I ask myself is like, why did he come out with this now? Like, is this a power play, or does he only want to curry favor with Boric? Like, it doesn't really make sense to me. Does he want to throw Piñera under the bus?
I mean, you never know. And in general, the truckers, like we've talked about this very briefly on a previous episode. There's a lot to unpack with truckers. We might need to do a trucker episode.
Write it down.
Because the truckers have a lot of power in Chile. They always have, because we have basically one highway that goes to everything. So if the truckers say, like, look, we're not going to move product, then the entire country suffers. And they tend to be right leaning. And so a lot of times the right can get things passed if the truckers go on strike. And this is interesting because this is one reason why Boric and the left want to have a train that goes from, I don't know exactly where, but to the south. So it's like the truckers can't just completely collapse the economy and collapse all products reaching the capital and other parts of the country if they decide to go on strike. Which, of course, I'm not against strikes. Like if you don't have fair working conditions and you think something's, you need to go on strike because you need to do it, but the entire country being unable to get the necessities, that's that shouldn't be in the power of one small sector of people.
Right. No, and I get that Juan Araya and like basically all the truck confederations have a bone to pick with Boric because Boric has been very vocal about getting the train, the railroad started again. It's just like I'm not really clear on whether this was a power play or not, because like the timing of this whole thing just seemed very odd. You know what I'm saying? Because in a way, it's like he doesn't have to tell Boric that they can like paralyze. Boric knows that, and I don't know why he just threw Piñera under the bus like that. It's just, I don't know, because in a way for me, look, if I was like a Machiavellian schemer and if I had this kind of like damning, incriminating information as he did, I would definitely try to put this to some use in a way. I just cannot see what use that is right now to him. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. Maybe he didn't feel safe coming out with it until now that the new administration is coming down the pike.
Yeah, but why would he come out with it at all,
Well,
we'll
because
see.
because it's important. I don't know.
Yeah.
All I think is the train's cool. I agree with the train. I think that's going to be really good for the Chilean people and the Chilean economy. And I mean, the truckers have been causing shit to go down since before Allende, and a very big part of Allende's government.
Yeah, I mean, if you're religious, man, like if you think that God created Earth and created Chile, like he had trains in mind when he created Chile. I mean, there's really like, just look at the country shape. This is crazy.
So anyway, you got anything else? Or am I going to talk about cables?
Well, you can talk about cables. How about you talk about cables? Go ahead, Bethany.
So
talk about cables.
Here's the thing, Lenny. I have to tell you, there's going to be a giant cable, apparently, or so they say, going from Chile all the way to Asia. So there's an idea that there's going to be a 20,000 kilometer cable underneath the Pacific Ocean to provide energy to Asia. It's called the Antipodas project, and it has never been done on such a scale. So this project will allow the Chile to share with Asia Pacific countries clean, reliable, and renewable solar energy that can be produced in Chile during the daytime, that they can use, like, because it's opposite, like what the idea is, Chile gets to use light from the production in the daytime, and instead of losing that energy, which is not being used, it then gets pumped to Asia, who gets to use the unused energy. That's sort of the idea here. But there's a lot of problems because they don't exactly know how it's going to work or how they're going to fund it.
Okay. I thought they had that figured out.
Yeah.
Just details.
Small details. The idea is to produce between 200 and to 600 gigawatts in the Atacama Desert, which is the world's driest desert, as a lot of people know, and one of the best places to generate solar energy. And it would be exported to Asia via a submarine under the water cable. And the Chilean government, under the sea, Chilean government, which is the Piñera administration, claims the project could also reduce total global CO2 emissions by almost 5%. And more than 1 point, that's what it is, they said, by replacing polluting energy with renewable energy. Okay, so anyway, there was a Piñera talked about the project in 2020 to the National Business Meeting INADE, which was held in Santiago, and he assured that it was first necessary to carry out some more studies to create alliances with the Asian countries first, which, that's important. Like, you gotta figure out who you're gonna give it to, right? So sources at the Ministry of Energy told Diálogo Chino, cannot with it today, Chinese dialogue that there is
Yeah.
still no public information about the Antipodas project and that it's still being studied. Even so, experts say it's not currently feasible for a number of reasons. One person said no one can answer whether it's possible because there's no study to confirm it, which was said by Claudio Raman, the Solar Energy Research Center at SERC, S-E-R-C, at the Universidad de Chile's Electrical Engineering Department. There's also even more uncertainty about the significant size, with few studies that can even certify if there's ability to stabilize and control this and if it's safe. So the current longest submarine cable, they do exist. The current longest submarine cable only came into operation at the beginning of October in 2021, which is 720 kilometers between Norway and the UK. So we're talking 20,000.
Yeah.
720 to 20,000, right?
That's
And
okay. I thought there were like longer cables than that. I thought like, because I've always had the impression that there were like cables running between the US and Europe or whatever.
this is
That
this
gotta
is
be,
the
right?
long
Like internet and
this
shit?
is the longest apparently submarine. So in the southern hemisphere, there is a cable between Australia and Singapore being worked. Well, that's being worked on, not functioning yet, and it's 4,200 kilometer cable,
Okay.
and it's supposed to be operational by 2027, right? But they're already working on it. And okay, here's the thing. They already share a cable, a 4,600 submarine cable, but it's a communication cable, not for transmitting power,
Okay,
which is a whole different situation, right? Because transmitting signals of communication versus like maintaining power, because the longer it takes for your energy to go from one place to another, you lose energy, right?
Yeah, you probably have to
So-
have like substations in between, or just I don't know if the AC current would make the
Science.
distance. Yeah, it's getting technical. Science.
Okay, so also it's going to be expensive. The cost is going to either be between $1 million to $3 million. That has to be multiplied by, I don't know, this person said that needs maybe even be multiplied by 15,000. I don't know. Somebody said that. It's going to be
a good
long.
number.
But apparently these cable things are becoming in style, because there's a British company that wants to build a wind power plant in Morocco to give energy to the UK as well. So, and that one costs 24 billion. So there's a lot of questions here about how
Why would
to
the
do
UK need
this.
offshore wind energy? Like why would they need wind energy from Morocco if they have like one of the biggest offshore parks? It's
Anyway, long story
Anyway.
short, it's very ambitious, and who knows if it can happen. It's part of an attempt to do what like Piñera's government said, which is try to be like more green by 2050. You know, by the being what is it? It's called carbon neutral by 2050, which is the current goal, right? So it's an attempt at that, but is it feasible physically, financially for Chile? That's the question, isn't it? But that's in the works. That is
indeed the question.
Yeah, and Chile already in and of itself has problems with electricity. So I don't know why we're giving it to Asia. Like, oh, okay, I don't know. Okay. Anyway.
Well, yeah, that too. Money.
Pinguino said money.
Yeah. Well, enough about this administration. How about the next administration?
How about the next guy?
How about the next administration? Because we have a chief of staff already. I mean, who will be a chief of staff for the Boric administration. That guy just got announced a few days ago. His name is Matias Mesa Lopeandia, which is one of the most complicated names I've ever read, whatever. That guy is a lawyer, human rights expert, and also a party member of the Convergencia Social, which is Boric's party, 41 years young. And yeah, he kind of earned his wings defending the rights of indigenous people and pushing for expropriation of land from like lumber companies and stuff like that. And during the campaign between the first round and the runoff, he was the executive secretary of Boric's team and played a key role in moderating the discourse. So he is, let's say, a very renowned figure in the realm of human resources. I was just wanted to say human
Human
rights. Yeah, thank you. But yeah, there have been some voices of concern. I think Pinguino, you brought that up, that he doesn't have a lot of political experience. So that might be something that makes him attackable.
Well, I feel like I was talking to Pinguino about this as well. Like, I think that's going to be talking about political experience is going to be a very interesting topic with Boric, because like the whole idea is he wants to reboot the system. If you're going to get somebody with a lot of political influence, your pool for Boric is very small, or you're going to be using people from the Piñera or the Bachelet administration, which is not what he wants to do. So you're going to have to be pulling from a new pool of people, which is people who are highly educated, like his chief of staff is, like Matias is, but maybe they don't have the political experience, but they have other experiences that I think can be just as, if not more important, from my personal.
I mean, there are merits and there are disadvantages to this whole thing. I do think that there are certain positions, and I don't know if the chief of staff falls under this category, but I do think there are certain positions where political experience is just the main asset to have, because there are certain positions where you really need to know about the inner workings of the systems. You need to know the key players. You need to know how to shake hands and rub elbows.
There will be those. I mean,
there
Boric,
will be those.
I mean, that Giorgio is going to have something to do with the government. There's going to be so many people. The first lady.
Even Giorgio, I mean, he's been active politically for quite a while, but like compared to some, like, I don't know, Jaime Naranjo or whatever, that guy's still greenhorn,
No, but I mean, Jaime Naranjo probably is going to be involved as well. Like, there's going to be some old guys that are going to be in there, but it does not surprise me that his chief of staff is a young person, especially a young, not necessarily politically affiliated person. I mean, that's very much his campaign, right? Like, we need to get more young people involved. We need to get fresh faces.
Yeah, so, we need to drain the swamp. I never heard that one before.
Yeah, let's not.
Let's not go there.
Let's not do that. Yeah. So okay, cool. I'm interested to see what happens. We'll keep you guys updated on the board stuff. You're going to hear a lot about him today in this episode.
Absolutely.
A little later.
Got another piece of good news. I don't know, man. So many good news today. I can't even handle that. So we right now, no, I'm not being facetious. I'm actually being serious right now.
No,
So apparently the Superintendencia de Salud, I wouldn't really know how to translate that. The Superintendents of the Health, Superintendents?
The Minister of Health, I would say.
It's not really the ministry, but it's like an authority, the health authority. So it's basically the Chilean FDA. So basically, they decided that mental health problems will no longer be excluded from coverage if those mental health problems are pre-existing conditions. So that has been confirmed by Patricio Fernandez, who is the head of the Chilean FDA. And this will affect ISAPRES, since they never really mentioned FONASA in this article I read. So apparently this is not a thing with FONASA.
It's not a thing, because that's the public system.
Okay, so perfect.
You can't this is going to come from the public system.
Okay, that's great. So as this is going to come into effect as of March 1st. So that means that ISAPRES will no longer ask people for information regarding their mental health when applying for affiliation, on which basis they could actually reject the application or narrow down the health coverage. So that's no longer be a thing. And I mean, it's interesting because I was reading this and then I was reading also about this whole thing about we just talked about the unemployment insurance for like independent workers. This is such a pandemic project, like this, and the whole the thing about the mental health issue. It's just like because people just saw like there are so many problems that just came to the fore like the last 2 years. Like this has pandemic written all over it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's good. It's good to have a response, right? Yeah. Learn and respond appropriately. Mental health is a huge medical condition, especially it's so many young people right now are struggling with it, like teenagers. I know that that's happening in my family. It's hard for teenagers right now. So, I mean, it's hard for everyone, but imagine being a teenager right now during the pandemic. I can't.
Oh God, no, can't even. Yeah, no. I'm glad that I'm an adult who is more or less a shit.
I'm in my 30s who's like, I'm done socializing for the rest of my life. I'm good. I just want to read a book. But in my teens, I would have been like, I can't see my friends. I might as well just laugh, So.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, when they announced like
Pinguino was not like that. It's fine. He didn't have friends.
Oh.
I love you, Pinguino.
I mean, when they announced the end of like phase
phase one. It was like, people can go out again. I was like, oh, great. And then just plop back down on the couch. So yeah.
I was excited to see people. I mean, like, I have my 7 people that I like. You and Pinguino are 2 of the 7 people, and I like to see those people.
Nice
but
save.
Besides that, no, I mean, for real. Like, but that's basically it. Every other time, I'm like, I'm good. I have books. I have really trashy romance novels I can read by myself. I'm good.
Good.
Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed the news. We do want to make announcements about events coming up so that you can go to them. If you want to, there is the bilingual trivia night, which is where you have different rounds, one in English, one in Spanish, alternating, and you can have a team of up to 3 people, win prizes. It's super fun. It's going to be hosted by me and Pinguino, and it's a really fun time. It's $6,000 to enter per team, and you can enter by emailing us at chiletodaypodcast@gmail.com or on our Instagram at chiletodaypodcast, or via the Chistolas at the Chistolas on Instagram, or the Chistolas at gmail.com. I'll put all of that information in the Instagram page. And if you're also just curious about it, you can ask us questions. What is it? Why? When? Where? That's at the Black Rock. It's going to be really fun. I love to do it. It's a lot of fun. It does book up fast. So if you're really interested, send us an email for reservation. Lenny has another event.
All right. Yeah. If you're interested in watching a solo show of one of the Chistolas member who just basically took a lot of time during the pandemic to write his own thing, you should go to the Fiddler's Irish Bar and Restaurant on Manuel Montt with Providencia on Tuesday, January 18th at 8 p.m. You can buy tickets online. We're also going to probably repost that event on the Chistolas page. Now, that thing is a completely different animal. It's not stand-up. It's more like an audio-visual stand-up experience show, 4D, Ultra X, whatever. Like, it's really funny. You should definitely go check it out and support local artists. What can I say? Do it.
Talking about, this is part 2, the elections, and you're going to start with a little bit more international stats of the voting, right?
Yep, international and regional stats. So, in real time, 2 weeks have passed.
In real time? Okay.
Oh, no, in fake time, in your time?
In your time, it's 2 weeks since the last episode. In our time, we just drank more Coca-Cola.
Welcome to the future.
Welcome to the future.
I don't know to whom, but I don't know how this works, but okay.
Okay, so yeah, but the votes haven't changed since 2 weeks.
The votes haven't changed. Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh.
So, knock on wood, even though I shouldn't do this, right?
There's going to be a Chilean January 6th. Oh, no.
So let's talk about a little bit the regional vote, which I think is kind of interesting because what happened this time, the second time around in the runoff, that Boric won 11 of the 16 regions. And just as a reminder, Kast in the first round won 10 regions in the first round. Boric only won 4, and the remaining 2 went to Provosta and to Parisi. So that's a huge turnaround of this whole thing. So surprisingly, he did especially well in the northern regions that were Kast and Parisi strongholds, who also endorsed Kast. But as you said, this probably has also something to do with Isquiasiches, who was from the north, who basically got him a few votes there. But I think what is even more surprising is that he won by an almost 20-point margin in Antofagasta, which went to Parisi in the first one. 20-point margin in front of Kast.
I don't get it.
Like this.
You know what? I wonder. Again, I think we talked about this in our first episode before, after the primaries. That I wonder if that has to do with mining, since Kast was wanting to make.
Might well be.
Yeah, had some really weird policies on the mines. Okay, so going back, continuing what I was saying. No, my fact checker fact-checked me before I got to the facts. So anyway, what I was saying is the North, it makes sense because Kast wanted to privatize Codelco, which is the only public company that we have supporting all of the public institutions that Chile has. And of course, that Codelco is the state mining company, and that would obviously affect a lot of miners. A lot of miners would be out of jobs.
And it's a state treasure trove.
Right, and originally they voted for Parisi, and as Pinguino was reminding me, that Parisi was seen as very economically liberal, but more right-wing, which is something that would be important to miners. But if they were going to choose between Kast and Boric, they were going to choose Boric. Also, before the election, Boric made it a point to go visit the North. So which might have helped.
And also maybe like assuage a little bit the fears about the immigration issue.
Yeah.
You know, and also maybe a minor point, but
Get it?
Oh boy, yeah, no, I didn't. That wasn't even intended, but okay, fine, I take it. So one of Boric's talking points is also a stronger federal structure of the country, so that might also have an impact on the turnout. You know, especially like regions like Antofagasta, who have a lot of economic power on their own behalf.
Right.
You know,
I mean,
they might want a little bit more independence there.
Yeah, totally. I think there's a lot of things we can look at. It's easier to analyze in hindsight, obviously.
I know this is gonna happen.
Again, we are not professional political analysts. We're just two immigrants living here,
large,
hanging out with our fact-checking journalist Penguin. Having a good time. Hoping you're having a good time too. So everything we say, grain of salt. If you have comments and want to correct us, contact us on our Instagram at Chile Today Podcast, or email us chiletodaypodcast@gmail.com. Correct us, talk to us. We want to talk to you. We love it. So anyway,
we're still totally right though.
Oh, I mean, I've never been wrong.
Yeah, never.
Ever.
So, so except for Antofagasta, like he also actually won the northern regions, the other northern regions.
The Nordic regions?
Nordic regions. I mean, he won, what was it here? Arica Perinacota. I think the only northern region that didn't go to Boric was Tarapacá, but that went to Cast only with a 3% margin. So that was a close call too, you know. And basically, like of the northern regions that went to Boric, like the exception of Arica Perinacota, his lead was significant with 20 or more points. I mean, it was a real upset up there in the north. So he really left his mark there. So Cast scored some of the southern regions. Maule barely by 1% margin. Ñuble by 17%, which is a little bit more pronounced.
Yeah, Ñuble was I was like
Bio 4%.
Yeah.
And then Araucanía by 20%, which is nobody surprised because of the whole issue going on with the Mapuches, with the lumbers,
So if you're not familiar with the conflict in the Araucanía region, we have some episodes about it, but it has to do with indigenous conflicts in the area. So like of course the right wing, that don't really support the indigenous movements, they're going to vote for Gast. And obviously the indigenous people are going to vote for Boric because he's the one supporting the indigenous movements.
Exactly. So, well, long story short, Boric achieved he did what he had to do or what he needed to do. He won over the regions, which basically, gave him the win. So, all right, so let's quickly talk about the abroad vote.
Wait,
before
you talk about that, I wanted to, of course, briefly mention the votes in Santiago, which nobody was surprised that the only comunas that Cast won in Santiago were La Barnechea, La Dehesa, and Las Condes. Nobody. Those were also the only.
That's why I didn't mention it because duh.
Well, maybe people were curious that didn't, So what I was saying was the only three comunas that went to Cast were the three richest comunas. Which are also the comunas that voted for rechazo. That's Las Condes, Lo Barnechea, and Vitacura.
So
anyway, so I just wanted to mention, if you guys didn't know, if you were curious, that the three richest comunas were the only ones who went to Cast in Santiago.
I think for somebody who's not really familiar with Chilean politics, I mean that political map of Santiago, I mean it's kind of an eye opener, but like for somebody who has been like living here for a couple of elections, it's just like tell me something new. You know?
Again, for us, it's like
same thing.
It's like what you just said. Like, why even mention it? It's like, oh no, because if you're maybe moving here, you don't know anything about Chile, you haven't lived here. That's literally the class divide. There is a line in Santiago that is like where the money stops. Like all of the money in Chile is like all of the money in Chile is isolated to those three comunas.
Yeah, and that's not even an exaggeration.
I'm not exaggerating.
Okay, there's also a lot of money up there in the north,
Right, but they're the people who make the money don't live there.
Like who own that?
Yeah, the people who own that stuff live in Lo Barnechea, Las Condes, Vitacura.
True that. So let's talk quickly about the abroad vote, which is mostly symbolic because I mean, come on, there are 249 polling stations abroad, which is 0.5 of the total. So it's not going to make much of a difference, but I think in a way it's telling.
But immigrants should always vote. Do you vote in the German elections?
Yep, and I
vote
can
in the Gringo elections.
Yep.
Me too.
So yeah, well, not everybody can, you know. Sometimes
Yeah,
like a
if
couple
you
of
have-
countries do not have like abroad polling
Yeah,
stations.
if you
In
can
it was
vote-
for Chileans that was the case until
For a
recently,
long
I think.
time. Yeah, for a
my
long time.
parents never voted in an election. Never
Aw,
could.
Boris. Yeah, I mean, if you have a chance to vote and you're an immigrant, take advantage of that. It's even more of a privilege. So get out there and vote. And if you are, just a side note, if you are from the United States and you want to know how to register to vote in Chile, you have to register every year. And if you have extra questions about it, you can always send us a message and I'll get back to you at chiletepodcast@gmail.com. I'm really happy to help you be able to do your civic duty, as they say, abroad. There you go.
All right. Thanks for the PSA. So,
The pizza.
oh yeah, I could do with the pizza now. So Boric got from the abroad vote. Boric got 71.03%, and Kast got 28.97%, which kind of goes to show the, I would say, the mindset of people who live abroad. I mean, of course, this
Unless
differs.
you're like a financial
Yeah, and
guru.
I mean, I didn't split it up this time because I think the distribution of the votes were pretty much very similar to how it has been in the first round.
Yeah.
From like people who live in quote unquote socialist European Union, you know, which is not socialist at all, but like is more of
Yeah.
a welfare state, and they see, okay, this kind of works here. Or Canada, Australia, New Zealand,
France,
they voted for
all
Boric.
of those voted for Boric.
But yeah, if you're like a finance guy who is out on business
Saudi
in
Arabia voted for
in
Kast.
Singapore or in China,
yeah, China
or the
voted for
US.
Kast, and people are like, "What?" I'm like, because all the Chileans in China are doing business in China.
Yeah.
Like it's the big heads of companies that are voting there.
It's no surprise there, but you see like the vast majority for
Even
people.
the U.S. voted for Boric.
In Kenya, it was 50-50.
In Kenya.
Okay,
That's a random fact, but okay.
it's like 2 people that voted.
Yeah, probably. So yeah, so it kind of, you know, there's no surprise there on how the abroad vote has been split, but it kind of like goes to show that the vast majority of the voters of Chileans abroad supported Boric. And I think another thing, if you look at it, is, okay, as I just said, Boric got, or let's say Kast got in the second round, Kast got 28.97%. In the first round, Kast got 21.21%, while Boric got in the first round 53.75%, in the second round 71.03%. So basically the difference between the first and the second round for Boric was about 20 points almost. For Kast it was merely 7 points, which again I think it goes to show that this was more of an anti-Kast vote rather than a pro-Boric vote, you know?
I mean, then again, right? Like, do you have the numbers of people? Like, if you're abroad, you might be less inclined to vote in a primary than in the actual election.
Are you talking about the overall turnout? Yeah, well, I have to look that up, but yeah.
I mean, that would just be what I would think, because at least just from my perspective as like from the U.S., I try to vote in all of the things, but I just know my other friends from the U.S. that live abroad, they're like less motivated, should we say, to vote in primaries than they are in general, like official elections. So that also might
It's a
be
good point,
just.
I'm not going to look it up now. But.
No, I mean, again, I'm just speculating, but
Right.
I would assume that there was probably a much larger turnout for the abroad vote, because again, if you have to travel, right, to an embassy or to a consulate to vote, you probably can't do that twice.
I got a friend of mine who he lives in France, and he lives in I think it's somewhere that's not Paris. And he had to travel to Paris basically just to cast his vote. Can we not say cast his vote, because it's just
It does sound bad, doesn't it?
For this election it really sounds bad. So yeah, he just to vote. He went to Paris to vote. And he was just, that was a day, I mean, it was more than a day trip. Like he had to spend the night or whatever, you know, and and as you said, like it's a time investment for a lot of people because
money.
You know, they don't necessarily live in a town where they have a consulate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going, Leonard.
All right. So how about a little bit demographics? I think you actually mentioned that before. There was a little study by Decide Chile, who basically found out that this election was decided by young voters.
Woo woo, young female voters.
Young female, but also young male voters, eh? So, I don't know why I'm Canadian now, but yeah. So 68% of women but also 64% of men under 30 have cast a vote. Oh, God, I need to stop saying cast.
Stop cast the
Have
vote.
voted for Boric, especially in the Región Metropolitana, i.e. Santiago and, surroundings, with 75% and 71% respectively. 56% of women as well as 53% of men between 30 and 50 voted for Boric. 53% of women as well as 52% of men between 50 and 70 voted for Boric. That's still a majority in both genders, sexes. Shit, I'm always confused those two. Voted for Boric. And now, okay, for people over 70, 59% of women as well as 58% of men between over 70, they voted for Cast. No surprise there. But I was actually very surprised to find that, okay, there's basically the percentage that voted for Boric went down as the age advanced, but like still people between 50 and 70, there was still, albeit a slim majority, but still a majority that voted for Boric. I was actually very surprised to hear that. So the takeaway for that is that the right really needs to become a little bit more attractive to win over their young constituents. Like they're outdated.
I mean, you can't win over young constituents if you're not with the times, right? Like if you're
yeah, that's what they need to change.
I mean, literally, if you're you gotta get with the times. Like you can't rail against women's rights. It is 2021. You can't do that.
Did you get the memo?
Like, okay, feminism is here to stay. Women are here to stay. Women are going to demand their rights. I mean, we've been working for a while, you guys. I mean, they're letting me podcast these days, so you gotta.
We pay you so much for this.
I know. Oh, I'm just rolling in the duck bills. So, I mean, I guess that's it. Just get with the times. I'm exhausted. You guys, come on, get with it.
Yeah. Well, since we're having fun with stats, Boric got 80% of the votes of the ex-center-left candidates, which for some reason in that article included Parisi as a center-left candidate. I don't know where that came from, but okay. So 92% of the Artes votes. No surprise there at all.
So the 8 people who voted for Artes, two of whom I know personally.
Well, 83% of the mayor votes went to Boric. 82% of the Provoste votes went to Boric. Only 23% of the Sichel votes went to Boric. So I was a bit surprised at that. I did expect a little. No, I mean, I did expect the majority of the Sichel votes to go to Kas, but not that many.
Really?
I thought the split would have been a little bit more even. Because I mean, Sichel, be it as it may, he was a candidate of the center. Look, he's a moderate. He's modern. Like he just said like he kind of like. I don't know. I think we talked about this off air, where he basically said, "Cast, I'm going to support you if you agree with this, if you agree with that,
Yeah, and I know what you're saying, but it's for example, I know that my boyfriend's family voted for Sichel in the first round, and I know they voted for Cast in the second round. And my boyfriend's family, they're not extremists by any means. Like they claim to be feminists. They are pro-abortion. They claim to be pro-LGBTQ, and then they.
Your boyfriend's family is pro-abortion, really? Pro-choice?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they voted for Gust because in their not all of my boyfriend's family, but like his direct, like his mom and his sister, like it's sort of what I'm going with, and my brother-in-law, my tias. It's a different thing, but they voted for Cast because it was, for them, again, the fear of communism was way more powerful than any of the ethics and morals that they have.
Right.
So, I mean, and that's just the truth. So.
Yeah, but then everybody's like, I don't know. I was just surprised to see that it was just that many votes went to Cast from Sichel. I just expected the split a little bit more even.
Does that info say count for Sichel voters who didn't vote in the second round?
Or is it just saying?
I cannot say that detail wasn't in there.
I think that might be because
could be.
I mean, it's a bit anecdotal, but most people in my office, they voted for Sichel, but they didn't go vote for, or if they voted blank.
Yeah. Okay.
They drew a dick.
Could be they drew a dick.
That's the national emblem.
That should be in the coat of arms. So saving the best for last, 59% of the Parisi votes went to Boric. 59%, man. I mean, I don't think anybody could see this coming, but yeah, that was pretty significant.
Yeah, I mean, we already sort of talked about why that might be, but
but it's still a
pretty powerful number. Yeah. It's still a pretty powerful number.
All right, numbers.
More numbers?
Market,
Jesus, I hate
yeah, I
numbers.
know. Well, let's say
I'm
that
just
I'm
kidding.
gonna
They're
put a
important.
few words in there too. So market reactions. So as everybody, like everybody expected, the day of the election, the dollar jumped by 29 pesos to an all-time high of 876. Don't say anything. I'm getting there. Don't
I
say,
said nothing.
Hold your peace.
I said nothing.
And you look. The stock market opened with a 7.45% drop, which was the sharpest since the elections of the constitutional conventions. However, like the dollar has been on a steady rise for a month
And
now,
the dollar always drops.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who wins and what side. There's
I think
always
they
gonna
interviewed
drop.
somebody who said, look, like usually when a left-wing candidate wins, then there is a movement, unfavorable movement, which is more typical when a left-wing candidate wins than when a right-wing candidate wins, but it's temporary,
Yeah, I mean, I remember how far the dollar dropped after Trump won the first round. It was insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, insane it was. So,
It was
anyway.
insane.
So the dollar has been on the rise for a month now. So basically, the election results, of course, it gave it a little prod, but it was not. It was not absolutely.
It was not from.
It was in the past that it was
wasn't
taken
like
anyway.
we were dancing on dollar signs in Chile, and then suddenly we were like, oh no.
Yeah, and actually, I was just checking the exchange rate today, and
We were sending each other screenshots, and you made fun of me.
Yeah, it's true. And I was checking it again, and look, like as I just said, the day of the election, the dollar the peso went to an all-time high of 876. Today it was at 849, basically, which is where it had been right before the runoff election. So we're kind of like, it receded a little bit, but it still continues its path upwards. And as for the stock market, like 2 days later, the stock market recovered 1.3% and stabilized a bit. And since then, the index has come within. And actually, I did check the chart, and I do know a little bit about like reading charts and stuff like that. So the index.
I have read a chart once or twice in my time.
I'm a professional. I'm saying, So like the index has come within 2% of the value before the drop. And also, like, the market has been bearish since, like, November 22nd. Bearish means that it's, like, in a decline.
I know what bear means.
Okay, I'm just saying, maybe some
Bear
of the
bull.
listeners
I
don't.
know bear bull.
Yeah. So, like, the market
And
has
bats.
been...
Nope.
It's been baddish. The market has been bearish
Batman.
since, like, November 22nd anyway. So, it's just... It just went where it was supposed to go anyway.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, I have more on that. Oh, I just realized I have information about that.
Hold on a second. So, basically, Now, what is true is that the reaction of the stock market and the dollar was a little bit more pronounced than expected because while the market had already internalized the Boric victory, like the big difference in votes was what was unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Cristian Suriz Tobando, who was the ex-CEO of the Santiago Stock Exchange, said it was not only because of Boric's victory, it was also because of the spread of the Omicron variant that contributed to this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there has also been like
more to the mic.
yeah, well, I'm almost like eating the mic here.
You were that way.
Yeah, you gotta aim your face towards it.
You're gonna aim your face too.
My face is aimed towards it.
So
I know how to stick things in my mouth, sir.
okay.
Leaving that in.
All right. So that's basically. And he also said that like there has been a lot of emphasis from representatives of different industries on Boric to promise the end of violence. But that's actually another topic there. So yeah, sorry, you. were saying...
I was just saying that so the inflation had actually been almost at 7% in November, which had been the highest since 2018, which is of course before the elections. So the
inflation is crazy.
The economic growth in Chile in 2021 was about 17%, and the World Bank is estimating that the
2022, you said
2021
Okay.
this past year.
Yeah.
Well, they broke it. Of course, they break it into divisions of the year, the
Yeah.
growth, but on average, it was about 17% growth.
Yeah, you got to take this with a grain of salt because like.
Sure, because
2020 has been shit. So basically, starting from zero.
100%.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that 100%. You have to really take that into a grain of salt. And so what I was gonna say was that they predict that the growth will slow in 2022. But again, that makes sense because we're leveling off.
Right.
And so, but it does expect it to only slow its growth by 1.5 to 2.5% in 2022. But it's again, this article says. Very little of it's probably going to have to do with Boric. More of it's going to have to do with the leveling off of what we went from 2020, where we were all in lockdown for 8 months, to now 2021, where we've basically been out of lockdown for the majority of the year. For only 2 months, we were in lockdown.
No, we're gonna be in 2022.
What did I say?
2021.
Okay. 2021, we were not in lockdown as much. 2020, we were. So the economy grew in 2021 because we weren't in lockdown. It should stabilize in 2022. That's what I'm trying to say. Numbers are hard for me. They're easier.
Economy.
Economy. And what's... Oh, and again, so something, I have a friend who works as a lawyer for investments, and something that she was telling me, because I was asking her, I said, okay, so the international community is pretty open to continuing to invest in Chile, so wouldn't that be a good thing? And she said, well, yes, but something that Boric really has to focus on is, because Chileans are the ones that are scared of him, getting Chileans to continue to invest in Chile. And that is going to be an uphill battle for him for a little bit. So there'll be a lot of international investors still investing, continuing to invest in Chile, but they have to get the Chilean investors on board too.
Which you just provided me with a perfect segue
You're
for
welcome,
my next
professional.
blog. This was just like mind reading here. So yeah, because I wanted to start about like the whole thing. Well, the title is government building, which actually in hindsight reads kind of weirdly. But yeah, so basically building a government is what Boric needs to do now, and a lot of economists agree that priorities of the Boric presidency should be 5 things. First, calm the markets and the private sector, recover investments, what you just talked about, foreign direct investment as well as domestic investments. Also put an emphasis on the public policies. You gotta make good on these promises, also just to keep the peace, you know.
Right. We don't want people getting angry with Boric from the left because of something. I mean, he's got to tread carefully with that.
And as I said before, like a lot of emphasis from representatives has basically is on Boric to promise an end to the violence, which goes hand in hand with that, you know.
Right.
This also like contributes. He really needs to make good on these public policies, because if not, streets gonna be on fire, which is bad for the economy and everybody else too. So yeah.
Right.
And lastly, most of it will depend, or all of it will depend, on his appointees for his cabinet, especially the finance ministry, which is actually the ministry, as they call it, the Ministerio de Hacienda here, which is basically the be-all, end-all right now. Everybody's looking towards the finance ministry. Who's gonna take charge there, you know? And it's not only the finance ministry who's going to play a key role. According to a report by Sura Investments, there are 4 ministries that will have a serious impact on the further development of the markets. Apart from the finance ministry, which needs to be appointed soon, there's also the Ministry of Labor, because of the pension reforms that you just mentioned. That is also a hot button topic, and they need to have a person there in charge who, tells everybody how he's going to go about that.
Just side note there, Boric has been very, very public about how he's not going to be choosing anybody in his family because he believes that nepotism is like an evil or something. He said something along the lines of it's like the evil or destroys governments or something.
Oh, yeah, which is great and not par for the course, but it's such a low bar.
I know. Well, okay, nepotism. I know, but it is a low bar.
Yeah,
okay.
I know that everybody's been doing it, but still.
No. So again, people not from Chile or haven't lived in Chile listening to this, they're like, why is she even mentioning this? Why is that?
No kidding.
Because nepotism is so huge in Chile. I mean, again, we've talked about it before on the podcast. Piñera's brother or cousin wrote the Constitution.
Brother.
Literally, Piñera's brother wrote the Constitution that we've been voting on to oust, and it's like that connected.
And wasn't Chadwick Piñera's?
Yeah, Chadwick was his cousin.
Chadwick's Piñera's cousin.
Yeah, Chadwick used to be a minister in his cabinet.
There's like 5 different Piñera's family tree.
His niece wasn't his niece like Minister of Women at one point. Anyway.
She got so much flack for that. Yeah.
His family tree looks, the government.
Like a bush.
The government map tree of jobs looks like his family tree.
Yeah, no, it's been a huge, huge problem, not just on the right. It's been a huge, huge. I would not be surprised if there was a statistic done that Chile has one of the biggest problems with nepotism.
Yeah, I mean, not just on the right. Remember the
scandal
with Bachelet's son?
Exactly. I just said that. It's not just the right. It's also, it's just all the way through. So the fact that Boric is very strongly coming to me like, dude, no, my family, he said something like, my family's role is to love me and support me, not in the government. And his brother, I'm pretty sure, is running Brownie's page. So there's that.
See, this is how it starts, man. Community manager.
Community
like
man-
being
from
paid.
Brownie
Yeah,
to-
exactly. My tax bill, my
My
tax,
taxpayers' dollars is
my
going to run
pesos,
that Instagram page.
taxpayers' pesos go in there.
Can we just think about the brother, like his brother is gonna become president, he's handling the dog's Instagram.
I got a cushy government job for you, brother.
I mean, but literally, Brownie's Instagram page is making money because he has so many followers on Instagram that whoever's running that page, it probably can quit whatever job they're doing and just run Brownie's page.
Isn't it kind of depressing to think about that? Like a freaking dog's Instagram page got more followers than you.
Is it than our podcast?
Yeah, that our podcast. Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty cute, but not nearly as cute as Brownie. That's also not a visual media. Hey, my reels are hilarious. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so again, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
I mean,
that's fine.
I did mean to interrupt.
It was.
But I wanted to.
It was a
wanted to
relevant
put-
sidebar.
I wanted to put that he has also said that he is not going to just choose people that are his friends and from his party. That he again, we will see what happens, but that he's really going to try to pick the most educated people in their fields, which I would really like to see because as many people know from this country, from the US, from lots of different places, sometimes the most suitable candidate, the most educated candidate in areas don't get chosen. It's your friends or a political move, right?
Yep.
So I'm very interested to see if he stays with that idea. So
Yeah, I trust that he will, but well, we'll see. Because I mean, now that he made it public,
yeah, I mean he already said
he
just
can't.
said it. I mean this was post election.
I
This
want to
was
see
not
him like wiggle his way out of that one.
and
if
that
he
was
if he
post
breaks
election.
that
That
promise.
wasn't even like during the election. That was
Yep.
after the election that he said that. So.
So basically coming back, what I say is like the four ministries of the apocalypse that everybody is watching right now is the finance ministry because it's the most salient one because of course like everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of people go like, oh my god, he's such a left-wing ready. He's gonna spend all the money on things that
Beer.
On
Yeah.
healthcare. Oh my god. No.
yeah, like all these
Oh
useless
my god.
things.
I
So
love all the pictures of him.
like they're
drinking
really
beer.
so basically everybody's looking, okay, who's gonna take charge of the finance ministry? Hopefully somebody level-headed who knows their stuff. Then the Ministry of Labor, as I said, because somebody needs to handle those pension reforms. The health ministry is another one that needs to be is pretty much in the focus of the public right now because like how are we gonna continue handling the pandemic right now? And last but not
exactly.
least, the Ministry of the Interior, because of the situation Laura Garnia and the issue of high
the-
crime rates as
yep.
well as public safety in
Ministry of
general,
Interior
talking
is in
about
charge of-
riots
yeah.
and looting in the streets. You know,
Yep.
this is something people are worried about, and they need to see somebody in charge of that ministry
That
who,
they're- yeah.
who can handle the situation. you
Right.
know? And last but not least, the markets and investors in general will also be very wary of how strong the presence of the Communist Party will be. This
Yeah.
is something that people are worried about. Whether it's justified or not is a completely different
Right.
thing, but they go like, okay, like if there are too many people of the Communist Party, no, they were part of the voting
There will be
bloc.
people in the Communist Party.
Yeah,
that are
because
in
they
his
were part of the
government.
voting bloc, and Boric also opened basically his cabinet to parties that were not part of the voting bloc, like the Socialist Party, like the Radical Party. You know,
Yep.
so
Because again, he said like I'm gonna pick the best person, and you guys can. I mean, he basically said you guys, meaning everyone can suck it, like not necessarily just left, like everybody can suck it. I'm gonna pick the best person. And what was it like the Rojas guy, the guy that has red hair? His last name's not actually Rojas, but he changed his name to Rojas because he has red hair. He's an idiot, but he was like, I'm hoping
Post
that
Blanco, or-
I'm hoping that he doesn't let anybody from the Communist Party be a part of his government. And I'm like, look. Dude, you can't be like, I hope he doesn't let anybody from a certain party because like that's just stupid. You can't expect Boric to. He would never come out, Boric himself, and be like, nobody from the Communist Party is ever. Especially when people like Camila Vallejo and him have been literally partners in political movements since they were teenagers. There's no way. You're just gonna have to get over it. The Communist Party and the Socialist Party are going to be part of his government. And probably a plethora of other parties too.
But of course, he got to be smart about this.
Yeah,
you
to be
know,
smart, yeah.
and he needs to make sure that the Communist Party does not get, I don't want to say key positions, but certain positions that
They
might.
probably shouldn't be the finance ministry.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
this is a
That's
way-
just, because
yeah,
it is
exactly.
a political move, right? You might
Yeah.
be like, okay, maybe the best person for the job
I
is
don't
this
know, the
person.
education
from-
ministry or whatever.
Right.
you
Like put probably be intelligent about it, which I think he is. I
Yeah.
don't think
Yeah, I
he's
think
under
so.
any illusion that every single person and every single party affiliate sends a very strong signal. I mean,
Yeah, you gotta send the right signals.
you have to
because
signal
you gotta,
the right signals.
coming back to what I said before, calm the markets. You know,
Yeah.
this is actually one of the biggest issues right now that people are worried about, because they're gonna be like, okay, what kind of president are you gonna be? You know, and that's actually, I read what's not an opinion piece, was more of like an interview with this guy called Sebastian Edwards, who is a Chilean economist. Now, he's of the Edwards family, which is one of the wealthiest families in Chile. His
Grain of salt, grain of salt.
His alma mater is the University of Chicago.
Right,
But
the rich guy.
He made also like what I thought was an interesting point, because he kind of like predicts a future clash with the Constitutional Convention, because that one is largely made out of left-wing activists who, on the whole, did not very much like Boric's move towards the center previous to the second round.
They didn't.
So
that's what I said about the whole like Carabineros thing. I don't know if it was this episode or last episode about like that made people deeply, including myself, a bit uncomfortable, because if you yourself were a victim of violence or rape or anything like that from a carabinero during the estallido, and you see Boric like chit-chatting with the general of the carabineros, it makes you, it's deeply uncomfortable, but maybe necessary.
But
from a non-emotional standpoint.
If you're somebody who sits in the Constitutional Convention, you will power, and if you galvanize those blocks there, and if you decide to team up again, make his life a living hell, it's going to be a challenge.
No, I mean it's hard. He's not going to please everybody. That's the thing. Something my boyfriend told me, because again, I'm like super excited, super hopeful about the future with Chile, with the Constitution, everything. And something my boyfriend reminded me about this week. He was like, you got to remember that Boric is just a man. At the end of the day, even the best decisions he can make, even the best people he can hire, if he does everything that he's supposed to do, he's still gonna fuck up. Yeah. He's still gonna make you mad.
He doesn't have a cape. He doesn't have
no,
a big
he's
B on
not.
his
He's a
chest.
man, and he's gonna make a dumb decision, or he's gonna hire the wrong person. Somebody he hired makes a dumb decision, and
he has made dumb decisions in the past, man.
Girl, yeah. I mean, he has made. He's again. I'm surprised.
That mohawk he wore for a while.
Okay, come on.
Okay,
I mean, that was not like he was. I want to be president one day. It's not like he was thinking that.
Well, I mean, people used to talk about it. Yeah, he was in Congress with the mohawk.
My bad.
He had a mohawk
in Congress.
while being a congressman.
Boris don't give a fuck. He's already stopped wearing suits.
Oh, yeah.
He's been rolling up he's like, I'm done wearing suits.
Love, by the way.
He's like, we know what he's about. Like,
normalize not wearing suits.
I mean, because Boric knows what he's about. He's like, I wore suits for the fucking election. I ain't wearing suits anymore. Boric has never worn suits. He's always like wore a wrinkled shirt to Congress, with showing his tattoos and like a mohawk. And it's like, this is who I am. I did what I needed to do for the votes, and I'm not gonna do it anymore.
Maybe he would wear a leather jacket.
Yeah, he might have worn a leather jacket to Congress.
If nothing else,
in the winter.
If nothing else, that for me would be enough reason to vote for him.
Oh, but there were people on the internet that was like, I'm not going to vote for him because he didn't wear a tie to one of the debates.
Oh, yeah,
and I didn't even notice, because he was wearing like a nice suit with like his collar and all the things, and like glasses, hair is done, and everything.
Really,
and then somebody's like, but he didn't wear a tie, and I didn't even notice. Like my
is that your bone of contention here?
Isn't
like the
tie
only,
just a
like
fancy
this
piece of
fucking
cloth?
Accessory?
But isn't like a tie really just a fancy piece of cloth to cover your buttons at the end of the day? Isn't it a weird style if you really think about it?
I never liked ties anyway. I was really glad when I had my office job, and at some point they were like, okay, no more ties required. Like if I had a lighter on me, I would have probably burned that tie right there.
One of the things I love most about Boric is just how he is just like, he does his job. He's gonna do his job well. He knows his shit, and he doesn't want to fucking impress you. He's not here to impress you. He's here to do his fucking job. Yeah. And he has tattoos. He has all the, he wore a mohawk, there's pictures of him on the internet drinking a beer. Like, it was really funny because my boyfriend, he's a normal person. Like, they railed against him because he had smoked pot in university, and he's like, I did. I mean, even Bill Clinton was like, I did, but I didn't inhale. Like, at least Boric was like, yeah, I smoked pot.
Yeah.
It was super funny because when he won, like right after we found out about the tweet from Cast, right? When Cast like tweeted that he had called Boric and like wished him congratulations, I was like sitting on the floor like in shock. And my boyfriend was like, I've seen that guy throw up in a sink before, and now he's the president.
They grow up so fast.
They grow up so fast in university, not recently, but also like
exactly right after.
But that's gonna be every president eventually. Like, there's no way, with the way social media is, with the way everything is, every single person in the world has a past, and it's not even a bad past. He was a normal person. Like, he didn't even do anything bad. He just was a person.
Yeah. 2 more points, and I think then we're done here. So, talking about like what I mentioned before, one of the most important points right now is that he needs to reassure investors, domestic as well as foreign, calm the markets and everything. And and I read the same news as you read today about the PGU, the Universal Guaranteed Pension Fund,
Right.
where he basically just criticized the right about like this is not sustainable. This is pan para hoy, hambre para mañana. And in a way, I was just like thinking back to what these economists said. Like he needs to show the world that he is not a left-wing radical loony, but he is a
Future
more
thinking.
very not conservative but responsible president. It was like he's doing that
Yeah.
right now by criticizing Piñera's. I mean, of course, he does this for his own political gain too, because
Oh,
you know,
100%. He's still a
he's not gonna,
politician.
he's not gonna hand anything
he
to
might be a
Piñera,
sexy politician, but he's
Right.
still a politician.
right? But also like this whole thing, turning the right-wing rhetoric about how you're gonna finance that back on the right, and basically just at the same time showing the world that hey, like it's important for me
That's
to
actually-
be responsible.
that's
like
actually-
that's his job. That's what he needs to do right now to calm the
Okay,
markets.
so there's actually a book out there that's really, really good. I think it's called, what is it called? Oh, it's called like Don't Think About the White Elephant. And it's actually about how one of the biggest ways to appeal to the other political party is turning their words against them,
Yeah.
or like using the same diction that they use to appeal to them.
Yeah.
So the words, because it's been like psychologically proven and all of these things. And so anyway, so I actually read the book. It's really good. You guys should look it up. I don't have it on me right now, but it's really, really good. So it was actually suggested to me by somebody in the Communist Party, so I would not be surprised if he's read it. But like that is a great way to appeal to the other side, like emphasizing like, look, I'm thinking about what you guys have been talking to me about.
Fiscally responsible.
Look at this, like, and it makes them seem like the idiots, not him.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, and I think that's he's been doing a good job so far with that. So anyway, ministers, cabinet.
You would
Nothing.
think that not a lot has
Yep.
happened in like a week since
Good,
the
like, there's
since
so
the
many news,
election.
man. So many
But there's
news.
so much has happened. You
So
guys.
much to unwrap here. So yeah, so Dosa, he needs to basically form a cabinet right now. He hasn't dropped any names yet, and he says he's not gonna drop any names and before January 22nd. He says.
Oh, for fucking sake! I have
Yeah.
to wait that long.
Yep. Well, he said okay. He says
You guys
that
have to wait
he
that long.
present his cabinet before January 22nd. He didn't say it was a deadline there, but it's probably not going to be a lot earlier than that. Until then, no name dropping. That's what he said. But the Radical Party already announced their collaboration with the Boric administration, which was like about a week ago. And that was also, I think, right after the Socialist Party publicly considered being a part of the administration, in spite of not being part of the voting bloc for reasons you just explained to me. Now, there's one thing I was thinking about. Like, I thought, in a way, it was remarkable of how many parties that were not part of the voting bloc pronounced their support instead of going into the opposition. But now, I don't know, does that happen every time? Because in a way,
I don't know.
they're probably just sniveling for like, yeah, no, we're not part of your voting bloc, but we would still pretty much like to be part of the government.
I'm
I don't know
not
if that's
sure.
a thing that happens after every election here.
It's new, I guess.
Yeah,
We don't
yeah,
know. I
yeah.
mean, that makes what you said makes sense, right? Like they're trying to, and also I think that there will be people in the Socialist Party and maybe the Radical Party that will be part of the government. I would have no doubt about that.
Let me just recap what Pinguino just said was basically that, like, to me, questioning whether this is like a normal thing or if this is a unique thing. He said in the previous elections, basically all the parties were part of the voting bloc, so there have been no parties outside of any
Right,
voting
except
bloc.
for the Communist
except
Party,
for the Communist
which
Party.
nobody was considering
know.
them anyway because they were
So this is
so far away.
Well, yeah, this is a completely new situation that we have right here. So I've heard
So
a few
many
friends.
changes.
I've heard a friend of mine saying that he's actually very impressed that like a lot of people, a lot of parties that are not part of the voting bloc are actually saying, "What can I do now? How can I help? How can I be part of this change?"
There are, I don't know about the Radical Party, but I know about the Socialist Party. There were a lot of people who wanted to be, a lot of people in that party, the majority, I'd probably say, of that party, who wanted to be part of Bortic's coalition, but because they were officially in the Socialist Party and maybe had positions in the Socialist Party, they couldn't because the Socialist Party as a party refused to denounce those particular members who were very powerful members of the party. Okay, well, Pinguino just said the same thing apparently happened with the Radical Party as with the Socialist Party. So I mean, again, that's one thing about the Frente Amplio is they try to be very exclusive as far as like if we know somebody's shady, we don't want them part of us because it looks bad, and we want to at least try to be consistent with like, because again, the right is going to attack anything that the left does.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if Piñera has literally just been shown to have stolen money, embezzled money, blah 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 blah, or Cast, or I mean Cast he embezzled money, like all of these, not embezzled, didn't pay taxes, didn't clear tax, all these kinds of things. Sichel, Panama, all of these things. But if the left does it, then they rake him over the coals, and Boric knows, like, we got to be real tight on the ship there. So he wasn't going to even risk that with the Radical and the Socialist Party.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think there are like two interpretations of this. Either you could say they're like sniveling, they go like, they're sucking up to him. It's like, hey, we want a seat at the table. Or you could also, if you're more optimistic about this whole thing, if you're more optimistic about this whole thing, you could basically make the case saying, see, look, people want to collaborate. They don't want to go into the opposition. They want to be part of this big thing. So we see where this goes.
Well, I mean, I think that's what we got a lot more to say, I guess, but it's also
you think?
And we have many thoughts, not all of them good. I think in general, the room that we're sitting in is pretty optimistic. You, me, Pinguino. About what's going to happen. 3 months from now, we might be like, and the city's on fire. So
optimistic or realistic, let's say. I mean, we know there's not going to be big old change coming around, but Santiago's not going to be on fire either.
No, I don't think so. I think that'll probably be the most peaceful months we've had.
That's what Sam will be.
Oh yeah, Oh, like there's literal fires, but that's because of the drought. Boric, not the drought, not the pine trees. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time. We're thinking of lots of really cool things to talk about. If you want us to talk about something specific, email us chiletodaypodcast@gmail.com or on our Instagram @chiletodaypodcast. Follow us for lots of cool reels and tweets and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see you next time. So when in doubt,
Gringo out.
Bye.
Bye.
The Chile Today podcast is produced and edited by Podcast Pinguino Diego Rivera, and it is starring Leonard Kluge and Bethany Francis.
Oh, but one of these days I just want you to not butcher my name. Leonard Kluge, you mean?
Leonard Kluge. Bye!